Happy Monday. We are live once again with the group chat. I'm Tara Thomas.
And I'm Amanda Goodman. Thanks so much for joining us. It is Monday, January 19th. Today is the day we honor the legacy of the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And today we hope everybody encourage it. We encourage a day of service. Do something for somebody else that you will get nothing in return for. It's a good reminder.
Absolutely. So for some of you, like myself, no work, no school, but the morning show calls. So I did get up and put on a fleece since it's
You look fantastic.
-5. Thank you.
Yeah, no. When I walked in, it was -10.
And we apparently left our garage door open. I don't know how. So there is a heater in the garage because we live in Iowa. So it's not good that we were heating the outdoors for the whole night. So
I'm sure some lovely little animals around.
Yeah.
Appreciated this house today. I wasn't sure. And I immediately was thinking, it must have been your son. Because that's what I would have done in my house. One of our kids left the garage door
open. I don't think
it
was him, actually. That's what's
bad. I have to get mine, sorry. And I am like the crazy lady. I will still have an iced coffee when it's like super
even when
cold.
It's cold.
When it's super, super cold out.
Yeah, that's is that your go-to?
It's my vice. Drink? It's my vice. I have tried to give it up. I have, I think for Mother's Day, I think my husband bought me like the little Nespresso pod thing for like, because I was big on espressos when I came back from Italy, right? Of course. And I try to make them at home to save money. I try. But there was something about like, I enjoy going through it.
Yeah. Kind of your daily treat.
It's my daily treat.
So being a former morning show anchor, I was such an anomaly because I'm not a coffee drinker, never have been. And so it is weird because all of my coworkers would drink coffee, understandably, when we had to go in at like 3 a.m.
Right.
So yeah. So for me, I just never picked up the habit.
Wow. I mean, you are like an anomaly, like non-drinker, never smoked a cigarette, no
drugs,
no drugs, and no, I mean, like no, you do caffeine though?
No
caffeine.
Well, in chocolate would be the source of caffeine, but I'm trying to cut back on that.
See, like the other day, I get so excited. I did a post recently on our Faith of 4 Letter Words page about Valentine's Day. Like I'm anti-Valentine. I'm not a Valentine's Day girl. And I'm going to tell you why in a second. But like for me, real love is when Hector will go to the store and pick up like a case of Diet Coke and then put some cold ones in the fridge. Like when I get home and I open the fridge and I'm like, oh my God, there's a cold Diet Coke.
That's your love language.
That's my love
language. Of service. I'm a huge Valentine's Day person because I met my husband on Valentine's Day in 1998. And so that's fair. And then we were engaged on Valentine's Day since that's like our anniversary of meeting.
Somebody wrote a comment on our page and it's spot on. One of the reasons when I started hating Valentine's Day. So we used to, as well as this woman, our high school would always do the carnation sales.
Oh yes.
And people would go to the front of the classroom and they would read off names. Mm-hmm. And they'd be like, Tara, Lisa.
Yeah, we did that too. And we called it like candygrams, and they would deliver. Yeah. And it was always sad when they would do the red for love and pink for friendship, and then some people would get nothing. Yeah.
Me, I was the nothing. I was never like I was like the guy's girl, right? I've always been the guy's girl. Everyone's called me Goodman. I bloomed very late in life. I think I'm still bloom very late in life. And then I go to college. Let me tell you the story real quick. I promise I will be quick. I had this boyfriend in college. He told me to get dressed up. We're going somewhere really nice. We're going to go celebrate Valentine's Day. So I was it was like an off-campus dorm. We couldn't have sorority houses on our legal sorority houses. So we were in our off-campus dorm, my sorority. All my sorority sisters are getting ready. Everyone's getting, dressed up. Everyone's going to a nice restaurant. I skipped class. I got my nails done. I went tanning. I did all the stuff, right? Got dressed up. We pull into McDonald's and I look at him and I'm thinking he's joking. He gets out of the car. So I walk into McDonald's, still waiting for him to be like, oh, just kidding. He looks at me. He's like, you can get whatever you want. You can supersize it if you want, since it's a special occasion.
Oh my gosh.
And
that's awful.
It was awful.
And you genuinely liked him.
What? No. I mean, like looking back, I mean, like at the time you're like, yeah. But I'm 18. But I remember thinking like I put so much emphasis on for somebody else to make me happy on one day. And and when it comes down to it, I always got flowers from my dad. Always got flowers from my dad. And I'm like, that I am not, I'm like, I don't need anybody else, you know, to make me or take me out. And so like, that's what I told Hector the first day we met. I'm like, I hate Valentine's Day. Don't you ever buy me anything. And he was like, this is the love of my life. Like, I love this woman. So yeah, that's the origin of why.
So we always did presents from my parents and for Valentine's Day, and I'll never forget 5th grade. That was a big year. I got the OP, Ocean Pacific, like board shorts.
Oh,
so I wore them on the bus because not the shorts, but I got the OP. That's when hoodies first became a thing. So I had the OP like white with the hood. So I wore it on the bus for Valentine's Day.
That's a big deal. that was a big deal. The OP shorts and the Varney shirts.
Yeah. And then remember Forenza when like pre-express, you guys know it as either the limited or the Gen X people know it as Forenza. So those shorts and those Forenza shirts, and that was just like a whole thing in middle school. So it's funny how now there's really not the same kind of local stores that are popular with kids because there was no such thing as ordering clothes online.
No. And I'm trying to think of like what I think, like, you know, the Aloe, the Lululemons of the world, all of those. But I mean, like if you had the Esprit bag, remember it was like a bucket bag, and then you had to have the swatch. I mean, it was like but here's something very embarrassing. Remember Outback Red? Oh yeah, Outback Red was like a big deal, and they were like mock neck turtlenecks. So you had like all these little 10-year-olds walking around. It was like a pre-Banana Republic almost. Yeah, and it was very elite if you were wearing it. So my mother would not, obviously, because it was like an $80 mock neck, and my mom was like, I'm not spending that. Like, who would, right? So I took a marker on like a generic. I had like a plain turtleneck, and I took a marker, and I was trying to write OBR on it, and I put it on, and my mom looked at me. My mom's like, "You look ridiculous." Like,
oh my gosh, that is so funny. So the thing that's unique about our generation with the malls, right, is we would be able to go to the mall, and all of the clothes compared to the brands you mentioned of today were a lot more affordable. So it wasn't inconceivable that you could go to the mall and come back with a new Forenza t-shirt, you know, because it wasn't that expensive like it is today for clothes.
I just miss the mall. Like I was never allowed to hang out at the mall because my mom, like my parents would be like, that's where teenagers get pregnant.
Oh my gosh, that is hilarious.
Can you tell? Like I went to Catholic school my whole life. Like the Catholic teenagers get pregnant at the mall. Like once you get your Slurpee, it's on. I mean, like I just loved being able, like you left your coat in the car, and then you would run inside if it was cold, and then you would just meander through the whole.
Yeah, I was a big mall person. I mean, we went there as our social time, and of course back then we would always get the new cassette single for whatever was hot. And I remember when I got Biz Markie, Just a Friend.
I mean
that was a great, and you're just like so excited when they have the extra song, you know, the pre or the post like material,
on because you got the lyrics.
We had no access to Spotify and all the things our kids take for granted.
Well, I was laughing because I was thinking about I would always sing, and like I would always like have my music blaring in my bedroom, and my parents are like, oh my god, like, you know. But I was like, my favorite single, when you say that, my favorite cassette single was Boyz II Men, I'll Make Love to You.
Oh my god.
So I think about,
you're from Philadelphia,
of course, you know, boys, you know, you'd see them on this, you know, the sidewalk and stuff. But I think about me, like I'm trying to imagine my parents when you hear this little kid's voice in their bedroom, like saying, throw your clothes on the floor. I'm going to take my clothes off. Like it's like, and it's kind of, I all of those songs, like there's a classic, I call it the roller skating song. Do you remember like, we don't have to take our clothes off
Jermaine Dupri.
To have a good
Jermaine
time.
Dupri? Yeah. No, that's Janet. Is it Jermaine? Jermaine Dupri produced Janet Jackson.
No, he was Jermaine. Let me see.
So, okay.
I'm going to Google it.
What's funny, you'll think this is funny. Boyz II Men was too tame for me. They were too milk toast. I needed like a little Belle Biv DeVoe or something a little harder.
Okay. Well, we were coming in the acapella. Boyz II Men was the bedroom music, right?
Yeah,
Boyz II Men, before we even knew what bedroom music was. But I mean,
who is that sings? I'll find it.
I try to look it up, and then
while you're doing that, I'm going to pull up. We had some comments here that I didn't want to miss. So
Jermaine Stewart,
thank you. So Terry Lynn, good morning, ladies. Hey, our friend Terry, nice to see you. Nice to hear from you. Melissa, good morning. Thanks for joining us again. Tracy said, good morning, ladies. Welcome to Monday.
Welcome to
and
Monday.
That's Tracy Yezik Van Sabin.
That's a beautiful
Sorry
name.
if I mispronounced
That is a beautiful name.
If you were here in person, we would confirm the pronunciation before we said it on air.
like the Wapsipinickin.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the Wapsipinickin.
So if you are just joining our show and you're like, what are these broads doing up on a Monday? We have commenced week 2 of the group chat. So the exciting thing is we now have a sponsor, and that has always been kind of the goal for us, is to have the opportunity to partner with businesses that back women and women empowerment. And so we wanted to welcome and give a shout out to Middle River Cabinetry. And Middle River Cabinetry, if I can find here we go, find the logo. Our screen shows the logo on our top right. So it's actually like a weather wall where you guys are seeing the rendering of the logo on the opposite side. So I have to go like this
way.
Yeah.
This way.
To say thank you to Middle River
And
Cabinetry in Winterset, Iowa.
Yes.
A custom cabinet company that does cabinets and so much more.
A friend of mine, my dear friend Kobe, she designs cabinets. And so she texted me last night. She's like, who is this Middle River? Because she was creeping on their page, and their work is just
incredible.
I mean, it's just like breathtaking. And like I'm at that age where I geek out over stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
Completely.
Like that's the kind of stuff
one day you wake up and you're like excited to go to Lowe's and Home Depot on a Friday night.
Stores. We are, and we're like old school. We're literally Will Ferrell's character, like in
exactly.
old school. I mean, that's
so true.
Who it is. But I did have to tell you, we did prom shopping.
And that's right, because her daughter's a senior.
She's a senior. Do you know what she says to me? I don't know if Charlotte did this. Gia said, Mom, I saw this thing on TikTok. It said, it was like an emotional thing saying, this is the last time my mom takes me to buy a formal gown before my wedding gown. And I just stared at her. I'm like, what are you doing to me, kid?
Gosh, that is tough to imagine, to conceptualize, because yes, you think you still have all the things when really a lot of it is it's your last.
Yeah,
with them being permanently in your home,
right? But I am excited for her next phase. But we took Lucci, we took Spice with us, who's 10, and this is the thing about Lucci. I mean, she's my one who gets in trouble a lot, but she really is me. Like, she is my grandmother's personality from heaven. Like, and she has insane comedic timing. So it was just funny. Like some girl walked by and Lucci was like, "Oh, that looks good on you," and then she didn't like the next dress this stranger had on, and Lucci looks at me. She's like, that ain't the one. And I'm like, please, like just. But it was so fun. But Gia came out and she had this stunning gown on. It was a gown. It was like awards ceremony level. It was stunning. And then she's like, we're not getting this. And I said, why? And it was almost $1,000. And I said, yeah, we're not getting it. And so the owner came over, and the owner was really nice. And everyone was blaming the tariffs. So I played along. I'm like, these dresses are always as expensive, the
tariffs.
I'm not knocking anybody. If you want to spend that amount of money, I get it. Like, when you see your kiddo looking stunning and something, and they're so happy and you want to buy it. I am not spending $1,000 on a prom gown. Not doing it ever, because I still have a whole closet full of prom dresses and homecoming dresses that, we won't wear again. I mean, you and I, we on the anchor desk, we had to rotate our clothes because God forbid we repeat something within a 3-month, and then we would have heard about it.
For sure, especially if it was something obnoxious enough to a particular viewer that they said, you're wearing that again? You look like the one thing I had, it had this print of it was almost a stained glass print.
Okay.
And I would wear it under, like a solid black blazer, but you could see this part of the top. And someone said, my son said, you look like you're wearing a Spider-Man suit under there, which I actually thought was cute. I didn't take offense to it,
No.
But it was funny because that's how people would judge us.
Did you have the favorite? Did you have the go-to? What was the thing that you're like, I feel and look my best in this?
Not really. I mean, I just had so many of the stereotypical news anchor blazers over the years, but my favorite ones were if they had like some kind of cinch And if they didn't, we would use those fabric cinchers in the back to give me a waist.
Oh, sure.
Because that just helped to give me a little bit of a slenderizing effect.
I had this.
So I didn't look boxy.
Yeah, well,
like I do in
very
this.
No, you don't. You look very cozy. I had a, it was like a silk black Peter Pan collar shirt.
Oh, cool.
And then it was almost like a champagne flowy top. And then it was like a silk.
Oh, I remember that. I remember that because you wore that to that.
I wore it everywhere.
You wore that to that place where you have that really cool picture where it was like the women that
were walking in.
Yeah, that's a good, that's a very memorable shot.
Yeah, thank you. I felt very empowered in that, but there was something about that. I don't know what it was about that, but we all had outfits that we just felt like, I also felt, empowered when I wore that dress for the 2016 election. And then I didn't realize I looked like a.
Yeah. If you guys missed that on Friday, we shared that picture and it was so crazy to think that you were wearing a size 7.
It's a size 7.
And you looked great. Well, and yet now, unfortunately, for all that went into built up to this point, all the work you did, that in your memory has been erased because of the trauma that came from being judged for your body.
Yeah.
And that's so sad, but that's how it is for so many people, right?
That's how it is. And I remember I burned that dress and I should have saved it.
Oh my gosh.
I burned it because it was very, therapeutic to do that. But it was kind of like Monica Lewinsky has her blue dress and I have mine. That was my blue dress. That dress was dark, dark blue. And I remember hearing like, it was, and I think I mentioned this on Friday, but it was how women, especially, we will always get backed into a corner where we feel like we have to apologize.
Oh,
so when I felt like I was getting the apology of apology, like this apology was going to like represent 20 years of me being mistreated or my appearance being attacked. And it was, that was pretty hard for him to say to you, but you got to admit, you didn't look good in that dress. And my response was, yeah, it probably wasn't the best decision.
Instead of saying, wait a minute, this is so inappropriate that you're basically doubling down on a level of criticism that should send me straight to HR. But in fact, that's what we were conditioned to believe was normal because it was like they owned us and that extended to our appearance.
Did you ever feel like HR was never separate? It was like one, like HR, if you went to HR, then HR was like tattling on you to the, like HR, they were like lockstep.
Yeah,
with each
HR
other.
was like, I mean, it's a horrible comparison, but it's like the Gestapo. Like, what did you do?
Right.
Instead of saying like what was done to you, like, what did you do to bring on the criticism that you were fat, Amanda?
Right.
I mean, isn't that weird? Yeah. It was like this weird, like
maybe
strange
if you were making healthier choices while you were eating, you gave me my salad with no dressing on pizza night. I wasn't even eating the pizza, but that's okay.
So Tracy says, saw you two in Northwood, Iowa, and loved the message. We loved our show in Northwood, and thank you for coming to that. Wait until it's Lucci's turn. When the baby has all the lasts, it hits the feels in a whole new way, and she's your second to youngest, so you'll still have Aria after her. And Melissa said, it's crazy how much prom dresses are. Absolutely. Christy said, good morning, beautiful ladies. Stay warm. And our friend up north in Waverly, Levi.
He said #fishnets. I know exactly what he's talking about. I did a promo for my station in North Carolina when I worked in North Carolina, and my co-anchor was brand new, and he was from Survivor. He appeared in the second season of Survivor, Jeff Werner. And I was wearing a black dress, and I had patterned tights on. They were not fishnets, but I would rock some fishnets. What's wrong with that? So Levi has always been fixated on those fishnets because then they worked. Oh, you're still thinking about it.
And bonjour, our friend Monique she's originally from France and she's now very much planted in Iowa. She is going to be seeing us up in Prairie du Chien this week. We're so excited. So many people have really surprised us and not only purchased tickets, but just been so excited actually for the past couple of years about the prospect of us coming to PDC. So we have to give a shout out to Malaya with Cactus and Cove. She is the former Iowan, now proud boutique owner in Prairie du Chien, who is going to be the sort of the woman behind the show, bringing us to the Waterfront Hotel this Wednesday night. I think we're up to about 100 tickets.
I was just getting ready to look at that.
Yeah, so this Waterfront Hotel, we cannot wait. It sounds like an incredible venue. And Wednesday from 6 to 8, this Wednesday, we will be there. And what's nice is because we're so far north in Iowa, the drive to get up there is really no longer than many of our other shows across the state. So we can't wait. And then we have, oh my gosh, shows through December of this year that we're excited to see some of you at. We have the blessing of people not only wanting us to come to their town for the first time, but some repeat shows. And I do have to mention, we did have a show in Frederica that we are going to plan to reschedule in 2026. So I had a woman ask, what happened to that show? And we had to reschedule it. So we're hoping that we can get Frederica back on the tour roster for this 2026 season.
It's exciting.
Or leg of the tour.
The leg, right.
It's like Bruno Mars. We're not doing a residency in one place. We're jumping all over.
That would be nice to do like a residency. It's so cool to go to
like
small
further
towns.
back than I am. I don't know. Can you sit up or should I move back?
I'm sitting up. I'm short.
All right, I'll move back.
Yeah, I think I'm just short. I'm sitting back because this pillow that you have behind you is glorious.
Our friend Edwin watching from Liberia at West Africa. Time here, he said, is 2:00. No, yeah. 1:20. Oh my gosh. Thanks for joining us, Edwin.
I just see Missy.
I know it is. It's like I have to lean forward. Remember using bobby pins on your jeans, said Melissa. Okay, so I never did that, but we did tight rolls. Tight rolls.
The peg in the pants. And the only time that I could wear jeans was on dress down day.
Oh, because I wear uniform.
So if we sold enough magazines in our magazine drive or candy bars, that was our big thing. We would do the candy bars.
Okay. So that was like your reward.
Well, we would do for school fundraisers. And so, and you had to do a certain amount and then you wore, and I remember like we were all acting out of pocket when we were dressed down. Like we were just kind of like, because when you were wearing
anything
a uniform,
goes when you're in jeans at the Catholic school.
See, this is why the cold really doesn't bother me. And Catholic school kids out here will understand this. And like, if there's like that meme, it says, you never went through, survived a winter wearing a Catholic school uniform, and it shows because we would go to school
and you didn't have tights
we would have our high socks and bare legs and a skirt, and we just had shorts on underneath the skirt. So for our
and then boys would put mirrors on their shoes. Was that a thing?
Not on the I mean, I didn't go to school in 1955, but I mean, like they would. I mean, they would pull the skirts up. That was, but we were playing the girls we were playing rough in gym class, and
even in your tartan skirts.
I mean, I love that uniform.
Very iconic. And then as evidenced by Britney Spears' video where she did the uniforms. Which song was that? Hit Me Baby One More Time. Okay, so hello to Whitney, our good friend. She said, come back to Monticello. We'd love to. That was a great town.
I love Monticello. We're going to be in Monticello because Megan Maroney is coming to Monticello in the summer. So
for the fair. Is it the fair? Jones County?
I believe so. I don't want
to. Great Jones County fair.
Yes, it is. And so my good friend and I, we bought our daughter's tickets, and so our daughters were like,
she's gonna be good.
You guys are coming too? My daughter's like, I'm like, oh, now because you said that, we're buying ourselves some white boots. We're buying white boots, and we're gonna embarrass our children.
Our friend Jeannie is joining us this morning again. Jean or Jeannie, you can let us know if we're saying it correctly. Good morning from Clarence. And have we done a show in Clarence?
We need to.
I'm so excited, said Christy. Can I get both of my books signed by you guys? We would love that. Absolutely. And Terry said, how can someone go about booking your show? Terry Lynn. Okay. So great question. And sorry to bore some of you with this, but the way that works is really easy. It's just, we just need 2 chairs and we have our own portable mic and we'll come anywhere. I mean, we've been in venues that were former barns. We've been in everything from Legion and Vet halls to community centers. And of course, some upscale venues that are more of like your high-end reception sites, hotels, etc.
We were at the campground in Ackley, and that was one of the best. It was so nice
an outdoor
and chill.
Space.
Oh, remember that when that breeze hit? But all you have to do is email us at faithin4letterwords@gmail.com, and we'll get you on the calendar.
Yes.
And it's of no fee to you, no cost to you. Because here's the thing, and people are like, why are you doing it? We want to leave the communities better than we found it. We want women to know their worth from the moment they leave. We want women to know, like, you're not alone. We've been through the muck as well. Faith got her through. Faith got me through too. And I don't want you to think that I'm some kind of heathen. Faith got me through too, but I responded with some 4-letter words, and it's okay. Two can be true, right? You can be Faith and you can be 4-letter words. So it's kind of our way to give back.
Yes.
It sounds cheesy, but it's true.
And the business model, the way that it works is we sell the tickets online. Many of you know through the third party Eventbrite, and it's BRITE, eventbrite.com. So if you actually went directly to that site, it does have a list of live tickets, but you can find it all on our website, faithandfourletterwords.com, including, as she said, a link to, connect with us through email. And then we always are happy to come, weeknights primarily, when your venue or your space would otherwise not be in use. And so and then a lot of us moms, especially sports moms or women that just have other commitments, Friday nights and Saturday nights, that's our time to either do nothing or, support the kids, the family. So we try to do these shows primarily on Wednesdays or even Thursdays, sometimes Tuesday nights, when you can just have a night out in your town and you don't have to go to a bar. You can come and have fun with women at our event. And it's all ages. We have teenagers, young, actually even younger than teen, middle schoolers, all the way up to women in their 90s. So we are so excited just to meet you in person if we have an opportunity to do so in your town.
Yeah. And the one thing that I always take away is that people say, I wish I heard this message when I was younger.
Yeah.
And we do too. I mean, it sounds, I'm very proud of us, how far we've come and how we've responded to so much adversity. And I think when people would see us on television, I think we assume things that, when you see people on television, oh, they have it together, they have everything is going great. And then when you learn, we literally all are on the same boat. And it's kind of like, how do we all respond to the same situations? So it's kind of different perspective. And I apologize if I'm looking at my phone. I have a couple children who are very upset that they have school today. And and so their school is one of the schools that decides to go. And the reason they go.
I have only 3 in the whole state of Iowa that doesn't have.
No, but I'm for it. But I'm for it because they have a special day dedicated to learning about. Good. Because you either going to, and their justification is, are you going to be, you're either going to sleep in and do all the stuff and play video games, or we're going to teach you. And so the high schoolers, they're obviously doing the day of service at the UNI Dome today for the food bank. Because that's what you should be doing, a day of service to honor Dr. King. And then the littles, they have projects today to learn more about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., but they're not happy about it because it's cold and they want to stay in bed.
It's extraordinarily cold today. -5 is the street temp that I looked at this morning. And I was glad that we were going to be in the bright lights of a warm studio.
It is right about now that we all question, why do we live here?
Oh, yes.
But then when spring comes, spring and summer and the fall in Iowa, it really is
windy.
It's windy. It's windy. But I mean, it's beautiful. And
we do have our few days where it's perfect. Fewer than 10. My husband always says, everything's, a trade-off, because it might be sunny, but it's 100-mile-per-hour winds, or it's like it's calm, there's no wind, but the humidity is 90%.
Right. I had an interesting thing I want to share with you, and I think all the women will. So Lucci and I and her friend, my dear friend Stacy, had these box seats to the UNI game.
Oh, fun!
Yeah, it was beautiful.
The girls'
basketball game last night. They were playing Bradley, which
my hometown,
your hometown. And Luciana was very bothered by the fact that we went in, and she said, "Where are all the people?"
Oh, wow.
And she was obviously referencing that it was not a full, packed arena. And I said, well, still, it's for the girls. That's why. I mean, it's something going back to when I was in high school, I remember the games would be packed for the boys.
Yep.
And it was only parents in the stands for us. And she was very bothered by it. She was also very bothered at our high school. They turn the lights off when they're announcing the boys, but for the girls, they don't. And she's very bothered by it. And so
that's interesting. She's already recognizing
the
gender disparities.
Yeah. So I told her, I said, you know what, you're right. I said, keep asking those questions. And she's she's the perfect personality to keep asking those questions. But she was very bothered by the fact, why aren't people here? Like this is
well, and it is so interesting because one could argue that the girls will never achieve the level of support and popularity. And then Caitlin Clark bucked that mentality because those games that season, when she was in her full glory at Iowa, outsold the men's, and they did propel a lot more support for the subsequent teams after her departure. So that Caitlin Clark effect is a thing. And then obviously we know that extends to the WNBA. I mean, we both admittedly are fans, but we never watched or cared as much as we did when Caitlin and some of those other high profile players came into the league in the last couple of years.
Yeah, it made it exciting. And I know, like, you know, people say like, well, men can dunk, girls can't dunk. And I'm like, you know, I mean, like, I feel like girls play real basketball. And, you know, sometimes, you know, the guys in college, it's more individual and like, let me show you all my little things I can do.
And that's how it is now in the high schools.
It's annoying. And, you know, my husband and I, because I'm like, when the whole women's soccer was coming and, you know, they wanted to get paid like the men. And my husband and I would argue about it. I mean, he's thinking Euro soccer. He's thinking real football, not like, because I'm like, look at the men's soccer team here. They're garbage. They are. And then the women's soccer team is phenomenal. They're the ones that are pulling in like thousands and thousands of people, not the men. And, you know, you should pay them. You should. I mean, I can't even believe we're still having a conversation like pay us like equally. Listen, I don't want to do
the business, so they're not going to make the revenue because they're not going to sell the tickets.
But on women's, they do.
But I got
women's
you.
Women's soccer, they do. Yeah. They're outselling the men. But here's the thing: I'm waving the white flag. You know, you don't want to pay me equally anymore. Good, fine. Then I don't want to work equally. So take back this Monday through Friday 9 to 5 thing. You want me to stay at home?
Let's just be part time.
Like,
exactly.
I mean, like I'm good with that. I am like, who was it? Was it Susan B. or who was it? Was it Eleanor? B. Was it Eleanor Roosevelt? Who was it that was like, let's do Monday through Friday for the women. Let them work 9 to 5. No, take it back. You know, I have nothing left to prove.
Okay, so I had to mention this because just thinking of the 9 to 5 reminded me of how crazy is it that growing up, because that song from the movie that iconic movie, Dolly Parton, Lily Tomlin, who's the third? Oh, Jane Fonda. That 9 to 5 movie was just the classic. Hilarious. And then I had the soundtrack on a cassette, and I would listen to it in the car, in the back seat with a pillow over my little cassette player. That's how I would listen to music. No, this was pre Walkman. Oh. I would just play the speaker through the pillow. Okay. That's how I would listen to it. And then also the Beach Boys soundtrack. I had quite a few throwback soundtracks. So anyway, what's crazy is, think about this. When you are growing up and you watch a movie like that, and that the song, of course, from the soundtrack became so popular, it's not 9 to 5, because most of us don't work 9 to 5 with a lunch break. Most people, if they work 8, it's usually an 8-hour day with a lunch
6 to midnight.
You know? So someone said, I saw that, it was like a tweet, you know, on X or something, where someone said that I thought 9 to 5 isn't even a thing. And that's true, in contrast to how our culture over the decades has become more and more committed to sort of overworking. And so we were fortunate, she and I both had dads growing up where, you know, my father was a school superintendent. And so he could come home at a reasonable time, because once the kids and teachers were gone, I mean, sure, he worked in the summer a lot, but he had his own flexible schedule in the summer. And then as a contrast, your father being an attorney, he said he would still come home and play with you guys on the driveway after
that was
school.
Like a non-negotiable, because my dad was very, very much, you know, hands-on. And so
I just don't see that today with a lot of
because it's the pressure. Everyone thinks that they have to like
billable hours.
It's like the one up. Like I remember somebody be like, well, I worked 60 hours this week. Well, you're done.
Yeah.
Like it's unnecessary. Like that's not a flex.
That is such a good point. I had a boss who sent out an email saying basically, I work, 80 hours because I always bring, and I thought to tell that to the employees, it sends a message of not just inefficiency, but unrealistic expectations.
Well, and this is what was interesting. I remember leaving the news business, and when you're working in news, you're doing deadlines every single day. Every single day, every single newscast is a different deadline. Yes. So you're working like this. Like
daily deadlines.
Like you get a lot done. We get a lot done in like 30 minutes. Like we get a lot done in an hour. So an 8-hour day, we work 10-hour days in the news business, but a traditional 8-hour day was so foreign to me.
Same.
So when I left, when I switched over, I went to the nonprofit world. And then where I am now, like it's by 10 a.m. I have everything done that I need to get done because you're working like this. And so I'm like, so what are we supposed to do? I mean,
I totally relate.
It's very, very,
it's a different rhythm, and you can't, it's hard. I mean, it's a cliche, but it's true. You can take the girls out of the newsroom, but you can't take the newsroom mentality out of us. And so our sense of urgency and decisiveness and get it done is so ever present that it can be very annoying to your counterparts who are used to multiple meetings, weeks-long projects, and we're the kind of people conditioned by years of, like she said, these daily deadlines and this hamster wheel of content. We want to get it done, make a decision and move on, not let's revisit this next week.
When people say let's
collaborate and talk about our different choices, and and we're just like, okay, we're on to the next. And that's just that's a gift, I think, that we have, but then sometimes it can be a detriment because some of these business models have been set up to slow down a process because they want to make it feel like everybody has a voice, and you and I see that as a lot of wasted meetings.
Oh my God. In this community, I'm just going to put it out there. And if you hate me for saying this, you stop with the meetings, stop with the meetings, and there's nothing gets done. Everybody has a meeting. And here in Zoom in 2020, okay, I understand COVID really launched Zoom into this thing. The Zoom meetings still could be emails.
Yeah, for sure.
They still could be emails. I mean, it's just, we don't have to, because for me, it's kind of like, because this is my personality. If I say, did you get this done? And if someone starts, if it's like a community meeting and they
thumbs up through the email,
if they do, they'll do this in some of these community meetings. Well, so here's the thing. Back on the 17th, and I'm like, yes or no. I asked a yes or no question. Give me if I want the story, if I want the Pythagorean theorem, I'll ask for it. But just yes or no.
Okay, so I'm convinced, and I know you agree, part of this meeting obsession is this: you want to feel like you, but also like you're accomplishing a lot. So you can say, and I there are very many people that those listening or watching will relate. You ask the person, when can you meet? Or they'll say, well, when are you available? And you'll say, if you're like us, you'll say, oh, well, we're really flexible because yes, we have schedules and meetings and obligations, but very few is rising to the top of it's critical and it can't ever be, adjusted. For example, if she had a sick kid, she'd be able to reschedule some of her commitments. So in the same vein, when somebody says, I only have, 2 hours available next week, and then they send you their, online calendar and you click on it and everything is covered with meetings. And I just think to myself, I just don't believe that 7 hours of your day are critically important to meetings. They can't be shuffled or rescheduled.
No. What is that app that people, is it Calendly?
Calendly.
I think
it's
okay.
Calendly.
I hope if I offend somebody, I'm not meaning to offend you individually. I find it very egotistical when I would never in my life
book some time on Calendly.
Like who are like, can you imagine if I sent you oh, you want to talk to me? Okay, here, look at my find a space on my calendar.
It's like a doctor. I know, like a doctor. Like, well, we're not seeing anyone the next 3 months are packed.
I mean, God himself doesn't have a calendar.
Well, we also just know from life experience of not having the ability to do all the things and all the meetings and television. Like she said, every day we had a daily deadline. I mean, 5 o'clock comes around, stories have to be done. You have to be ready to go, camera ready, for better or worse. And that was it. And so I think people understand there is no way that you would have so many critical meetings and decisions on a daily basis that you wouldn't have some level of breathing room.
Yeah. And
unless you're doing something like,
and I don't want this
surgery.
Right. And I don't want this to come off like egotistical, and excuse me if it does, but in my 20 years of television news, I have been sitting with very important people like the Colin Powells, George W. Bush, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Trump, Lou Holtz. I've been in the room and been across from, they didn't even send me a Calendly. So you don't it takes a lot to impress me because it's like, I'm not here to be impressed. who am I? Like, I'm just like somebody else. So it's, you don't, and I don't mean to sound like minimize anybody's success, like, but it doesn't, just because you have a lot of zeros in your bank account, or you have this title in a community and you're running something, that's congratulations on your success. That doesn't impress me, because how are you as a person?
Correct.
How are you? Because
we're so jaded by
completely.
all the people we saw in the power circles, quote unquote, of television, where you meet the person and you're like, I can't even believe this person has the level of respect and reverence. Because I remember when my boss came to me and said, John Kerry, then presidential candidate, needed to borrow my compact because they forgot his makeup. And I was like, no, go down to the Dollar Tree where Ron Steele gets his makeup. He did. He would get it at like Dollar Tree. And you swear by Wet and Wild, which is like a $3 foundation.
$3. It's Wet and Wild. I have it on wet right now. Look at that.
And then I was like, John Kerry of the Heinz fortune, his wife, come on. Like, seriously. But it was so funny because that was just a classic example of how you are so in our everyday life, we are so far removed from that level of opulence, that the thought of like having makeup artists and hair people, and yet people assume that we had some of those perks, and I was straddling a toilet. Like, that's where our makeup room was.
I mean, it's crazy. And I mean, and we've been in, I think about the rooms that we've been in. And so it's kind of like, no, I don't go to meetings and I'm not wearing my 3-piece suit anymore with my stiletto heels. I'm not doing it because, you know what? For what? Like, does that prove that I'm like smarter or more of a businesswoman? Like, I'm not going to work 60 hours a week. I'm not going to have my work email on my phone anymore. Because
you're not trying to impress anybody either, because we know how that story goes. You kill yourself, you put in the 60 hours, and then in the end, somebody's niece or so-and-so who golfs on the weekends with a spouse, they're going to get the promotion anyway, right? So everything is not what it seems. So back to feeling important. This is a hilarious story. When I was in college, I had the opportunity to spend a semester in DC, and I was so proud of myself because a lot of my peers there was a large group of us who were a part of this 6-month semester-long internship in DC, and we all lived in the same apartment complex. Well, almost every kid was poli-sci, which we were poli-sci minors, but they were all pursuing jobs that would ultimately potentially be like inside the Beltway. And because we were, communication journalism people, I had to try to land my own internship, because all of their connections that they had, all the sort of internships, externships they were getting for a lot of these kids, they were on the Hill. So these were kids doing page work and working with.
That's Capitol Hill, not College Hill.
Yeah, right. So I was so proud of myself that I did get an internship with the DC bureau of CNN. So here's the funny part. The first day on my internship, they were like, we're going on location to King Hussein's compound. And I was like, okay. And that was surreal. And it was an incredible compound outside DC. And when we were coming in this servants entrance, this back entrance, I was standing kind of off to the side where they were setting up all the lighting because they were going to do this sit down interview with him. I interned for the Weekend Affairs shows. And so it was a grind of political leaders and influential people that were coming to be interviewed on the weekend. And when I was standing off to the side at the service entrance, lo and behold, King Hussein came in through that entrance. And here's me, and he's of a smaller stature, this gentleman. And it was like, he was like right behind me. And I turned and I was like, oh, hello.
Like Lord Farquaad?
Yeah, it was so great. And he was married to that stunning American Queen Noor.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Noor, I think was her name. So beautiful. Wow. Saw her in person too. So, as she's describing, when you're that young and you have those opportunities, as we did in our years in television, to be exposed to some of the quote unquote most important or highly protected people, it does take the shine off in terms of being impressed by somebody in Iowa who
runs a business.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's
not that they're not important.
We don't we're not. I'm not here to impress anybody, and so that's why it's just like, why do you? So I'm not impressed by it. It takes me a lot to be impressed by people, because now what I look at, like being a journalist, we see who people are behind the green curtain.
Oh,
we've seen
sure,
it. So
sure.
I
it's
have
sad,
seen
right?
people,
It's sad. You're disappointed.
I am disappointed. So for me, and it's kind of like, I wrote a post today about Dr. King Day, and it's like, don't you dare post, don't post anything. Don't share a motivational quote from Dr. King if you don't live it. And it's like people say, I've seen people saying like they're posting things about social justice and using their voice and what's done in the dark and da 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 da. These are the very people who have stayed silent when so many children in our community were being preyed upon. And because they were too worried about losing their status at the local country club, they stayed silent. And then they threw me under the bus because I was so. So that's the one thing I'm thankful for. We've seen behind the curtain. We've been at the tables of real power. Real power. My internship was with the Pennsylvania Attorney General's office, and I worked with the general. We called him the general, and and I've been across the table from President Barack Obama. I've been at, so where you're sitting, it doesn't impress me because I'm not supposed to be impressed by you. How are you as a person? What's your character? Right. Who are you? What do you stand for?
And a big part of that is that we've both witnessed and you've dealt with tremendously when you are advocating for others or when you're standing up for something. You generally say, of course, I'm for this, or of course, that person needs to be held accountable until it reaches your neighborhood, your school district, or your social circle. And then it's a completely different set of rules because then you're like, oh, wait a minute. If this is an adult that I have transactional relationships with, I don't want him or her to be caught up in something right or wrong. And that's disheartening. And we've seen that on so many levels. And that's just the way of the world. You look at all the high profile cases, there's usually somebody who was defending them who later said, I was wrong.
Right. It was, we talk about everybody wants to protect a child until it affects an adult. We know. I shouldn't judge, but I do. I would be lying if I sat here and said I don't judge people, but I do. I want to know people, and no matter what it is in life, whether it's a kid, it's a woman, it's a man, it's something. Do you defend them when they're not in the room? That's it. That is it. And to me, that's who you are as a person. Will you defend them? Like I don't want a seat at your table or at your country club or at this and this. If that means that you're just going to hide, rather than using your voice. So that's today always because I'll get irritated. I need to stay on social media today because I will scroll through my feed and people will be sharing all kinds of quotes by an amazing man who did so much, right, to bring change and to bring a communities together. And it'll irritate me because I'm like, no.
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought up Dr. King too, in that sense, because one thing that I'm proud of, or a hill that I will die on, and I know you feel this way, is if you raise your children to allow racial jokes, stereotypes, etc., to be a part of their everyday vernacular, then you are definitely contributing to that same kind of divisiveness that causes people to say, oh, well, don't say it in front of her. She's Black, or oh, well, we can't make those jokes today because this person is at our table. And I just see a lot of people shifting who and what they stand for depending on the audience. And where we draw our line in the sand is our kids are not going to be that way, whether they're around a person who would be discriminated against by the content or not, meaning you don't tolerate it, period, no matter who's at your table. And I think that's important, an important distinction, because what a lot of people fall into is they'll say, oh, well, no, I don't agree with that. But then when they're at work or they're in a social circle where people make those off-color remarks and say those things, they sit silently, thereby being complicit in whatever is said. And we're the non-complicit one. So I'm the one who's going to say like, no, like, what are you talking about? Or, oh, well, we don't say that word, or we don't talk like that. And that extends to when I was in Washington State, most of the bigotry was targeted at Hispanics or, the Latino population, because that was the predominant non-white population. And then when we're here in Iowa, where we live in particular, there's just a high number of, there's a lot of diversity in Waterloo. And so there's a lot of different groups that can be targeted. And so for me, it makes me sad to think about kids that know that it's not right, but they have just been conditioned to say, well, you don't challenge so-and-so because, they're popular, and it's ridiculous. Well, and I think there's a lot of that.
I can think when the N-word was so used in such a giant way, and
on social media,
it was put on blast, and I wrote about it, and I said, perhaps we change the conversation at the dinner table. And then what happened, rather than holding children accountable, an entire community and school district came for me. My address was printed. Rumors were started of me and my husband, and they try to tarnish my reputation. And then you think that I want to sit at your table or shop at your business or support you? No. So it's kind of, they want to be fine with all these people if they're, if they're winning games for you, and if they can bring pride to your school, but they were.
That's so true.
I get so mad about it, but it was.
I know it's sad because
these are the same people who will post all these things today, and that's exactly what I was talking about, because these are the same people who will post all these quotes. No, please refrain from it, because you came for me because I stood up for the fact that we're not going to use that word in 2020, when the year was that we're not going to use that word anymore. And for me, they said to me, I remember someone said, like, she's just white like me. I am Italian. I am flavored. I'm from the East Coast. And when you ask me, it is easier to ask me how many white kids were in my school than how many people of color. Or I went to school with every single culture under the sun. And I'm so thankful and blessed that I did. So,
Yeah. So that was that was my upbringing as well. I went to a high school in Peoria, Illinois, my hometown, that was 60% African American. So I was in the minority in my high school, and I understand that feeling, and I'm very comfortable with being somebody walking into a room where I may be, one of only a handful of white people or the only white person. And so that was always sort of my gift that I felt like I could give to my kids, is just bringing them into places and spaces where they would understand, like, life doesn't look like what we might think it looks like growing up in a place, maybe like rural Iowa. That's not what the rest of the world necessarily looks like. And it's fine wherever you grow up, but there has to be a level of engagement and understanding and hopefully exposure. And so for me, I definitely will die on that hill of, like, you're not going to twist and turn something when it's just covert racism. And so I've had words recently with somebody from another high school because comments that were made about team members of my son's and of my son's team, and comments, I took it very personally, because when I was in high school, we played a volleyball team that was in a small town outside of Peoria, and they happened to have the letter K in their name. And when our volleyball bus pulled up, they were chanting KKK and doing a triple K in their name. And this was in the 90s. Oh, and so, that's how not removed we are from how things used to be, And so I think that I'm just very sensitive to that, because even though I was white and I was among other people being targeted, it still was directed at people that I cared about, and it was our team. And so I'm very sensitive to that. And so when comments are made and then people will say, like, oh, please, you're just overreacting, or we weren't mentioning anything about race, or, and it's like, what they don't understand is the implication. The implication is you somehow are making yourself feel better or elevating yourself. And let's be honest, economic status is usually at the heart of that.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Yeah. I just always want to, like, take people who have this mentality and drop them off in, like, one of the neighborhoods back home. You know what I mean? And just do, like, Hunger Games salute, like, good luck. Just run that. Be as confident with your words and your hate and your visceral conversation. Be as confident with it where I'm from. And it's like, good luck.
Okay. And I'm so glad you said that, because what did I say that was spot on? The same person who was telling my husband, correcting my husband, and didn't like what my husband said at a game when he was cheering and said a call was wrong. I thought to myself, would you say that to one of the players' dads who might be African American or non-white? I don't believe they would have said that.
Yeah, no.
So it was like, so there's this white.
Hate me with your chest out.
Well, there's this white privilege mentality of like, let's check other white people who aren't as important as we are. And I'm like, you know what? Get over that
very
mentality.
Confident. It's a very confident.
It's a weird dynamic of white people like, well, I'm a better white person.
I'm more white than you. I'm not white.
We don't want to be white. We don't want to be that kind of white.
I'm a heavily seasoned, but before we finish the show, my husband was posting something. I know my husband was posting something today, and I'm so proud of him. So he is the first Latino mayor in the entire state of Iowa
which is
history.
Crazy.
Which is it's remarkable, and I thought it was remarkable. And so all these publications and newspapers reached out to him and wanted to interview him, and he politely
That's so cool.
And he politely declined. And he said, "That's not equality." He said, "That's not equality." He said, "It's not about me being the first of anything." He said, "It's the fact that an entire community saw the person and not the race." I get chills thinking about that. He was like, "That's the story on that." And he was like, equality is, hey, I'm now the mayor, not I'm the first. Once you say I'm the first this, he's like, that's not equality. That's elevating me over somebody else. He's like, I'm not, he said, it's this. And I've been married to him for 19 years, and I've never been more proud of him than I was.
That's so cool.
And so I said, you should do that post for Dr. King Day, because that's a great way. And he did. And I'm excited for it to go, because it's like, that's who he is as a person. So
and what's funny is if you talk to her husband, Hector, he sounds like he's just been immersed in, the Spanish language for the past year and just came back.
Yeah.
So that's what I love about him is, he hasn't lost like who he is or from where he comes. So he was born in Bolivia, but grew up in Argentina until high school.
And
right?
and he went to high school in Long Island. But if you ask him, what are you? He's like, I'm an American.
Because he worked hard for years to get that citizenship.
He is so proud. And if you also want, he wrote in a phenomenal essay, and I'm like, you have to, it was super, super long. I was like, he was going to post it on social media. I'm like, shorten it, about the whole Venezuela. So ask somebody who is from South America about what's happening in Venezuela. Like, ask somebody, and they will have a completely
different, who's lived in someone who's lived a regime,
who has watched their families lose everything because of socialism. Just ask them. They have a very different, and it's like Hector always says, and there was somebody that went on social media, and he's right. He's like, if you didn't grow up there, shut up. Don't have an opinion. If you didn't grow up there, if you don't have families there, it's a very good time to learn. Let this be the season to learn. But
unfortunately, a lot of people will take one tweet or one snippet or one headline, and that's as far as their depth and breadth will go.
So my 4-letter word for today is give.
That's
because
good.
Today is a day of service. So go give something to somebody else. That is my 4-letter word for today on this Dr. Martin Luther King Day. That should be a day of service.
I love that. And my quote today is a Dr. King quote that I love. Faith is taking the first step even when you can't see the whole staircase. And I just think isn't that the truth? Like right now, wherever you are in your life, a lot of you have despair or fear or anxiety about the unknown and all the things that are out of our control. But if we just lean into our faith and just take that first step, be it reading your Bible, having a conversation with God, being prayerful about something that's really upsetting you instead of just worrying about it, I promise you, you will get to the top of that staircase, and there will be light waiting for you on the other side of that doorway.
Yeah, that is wonderful. And this is your reminder as we end the group chat for this Monday, January 19th, that 2 can be true. You can live your life with faith and with 4-letter words. So we hope you make it a great day.
Absolutely. And before we sign off, we just wanted to say thanks again for those of you interacting with us. Liz said, good morning, sweet ladies. I hope you have a wonderful week. You do the same. Jill said good morning. And our final good morning came from Melissa. Oh, wow. We missed quite a few comments here. So sorry that we didn't engage because we just had so much to get off our chest. But we really appreciate you guys interacting with us, and we will continue the comments on Wednesday. We'll see you bright and early at 7 a.m. Have a great week.